So Astro Bot started out as Astro's Playroom, that pack-in game for every single PS5. Every single PS5 player can play Astro's Playroom. It's my 7th favorite game that came out in 2020, but that's also in a year where Persona 5 Royal came out, where Hades came out, where Ghost of Tsushima came out, where Last of Us 2 came out, Doom Eternal came out, Ori and the Will of the Wisps came out. It's got a lot of competition, and it still is like among the top dogs. I love it. It's one of my favorite games ever. It's this nice little nugget of a thing. And so everyone was like, we need more of this. So Asobi team, the studio that made Astro Bot, they made Astro's Playroom. They also made that VR title, Astro Bot's Rescue Mission. They said, okay, we're going to make a full game that's essentially in the vein of Astro's Playroom, but we're just going to do more of it. We're going to make it bigger. We're going to do all this stuff. Astro Bot is a collection of little things, little pieces of joy, little bits of joy, either through controls or through level design or through music or through references or just through the overall presentation. It's these little pieces of joy that culminate, group together to create this grand experience that you can't just help but smile at. Okay, so basically Astro Bot, the premise of Astro Bot is like you're riding around in this PS5 spaceship, and then all of a sudden green alien shows up, steals like this core part and just destroys your PS5 ship. So it's your job to go throughout these like galaxies and these planets, and each planet is its own level, very similar to something like Mario Galaxy. Again, wasn't gonna bring up Mario Galaxy, but like, I'm sorry, Mario Galaxy is like the absolute, like, is the blueprint. This is Mario Galaxy 3. Your goal is to slowly rebuild your PS5 spaceship and hopefully save the day. But at the same time, the secondary, but honestly kind of primary goal at the same time, besides completing each level and defeating whatever bosses at the end of each galaxy, is collecting the little Astrobots. Dude, side note, and I will include this in the video because I want to talk, this game made me want to replay all the PlayStation games that I got to see. And that is one of the best compliments I can say about Astro Bot, is that it does a good job of honoring the legacy because it makes me want to explore that legacy further. So I'm going to be kind of all over the place, but after the fact I'll add like chapter titles and I'll add little timestamps. So the first thing I know is I'm going to talk about is the DualSense controller. The game itself has been given texture by the DualSense controller. So like whenever Astro Bot is running through rain, you hear it in your headphones, but you also feel the pitter-patter of the rain in your DualSense. Whenever you're going through rock, you'll feel a specific rocky rumble, which is different than if Astro Bot is like gliding along metal spikes on a ball, because that is a very different feel, but it's still the same like technology being used, and it's so crazy. So there's this one mechanic in Astro Bot where you have like a wall of glowing green hands that are all in these little blocks side by side. So think about like a row of green hand blocks, and you have to bring Astro Bot right up against the wall and then push him left to right or right to left, whichever one is your preference, till you find which specific green block you have to push to open the door. There is no audio cue. There is no visual cue. The only cue you get is the feel of the DualSense. It is so cool that they did something like that, and there's so many things for that. Like the environment itself has come alive thanks to the DualSense controller, which I think is really, really cool, and it gives Astro Bot as a game so much more personality thanks to the technology being used. Your purpose in Astro's Playroom was just to get through the 4 levels that showed off like different mechanics. So like in Astro's Playroom, you put on like this giant monkey mech outfit, and then you climb using the monkey hands. So what is the difference between Astro's Playroom and Astro Bot is they gave all of these moves more personality, both visually, and they gave them more mechanic interest. So for example, the monkey mechanic is back, except you're not putting on a monkey suit. Every upgrade you get in Astro Bot is a little like robot animal that sits on your back. So for example, a little monkey sits on your back and he has these big hands. So those big hands can climb, but they can also slam on the ground. So the slam on the ground does a stun. There's specific buttons on the ground that you can hit, and that will activate that'll activate this platform that you can then jump onto, and it has like a timer, so you have to get to the top of the platform before the platforms go away. And so just like that, like they're injecting the previous mechanics, they're building on what they've already made, but they're making it more interesting, and they're making it have a wider and deeper range. And I think that's really cool. So mechanically, like, the game feels really fresh. The easiest comparison is to something like a Mario Galaxy, like a Mario Sunshine, like a Mario... Okay, yeah. Super Mario Galaxy. Like, Mario in that has a little bumblebee outfit that helps him traverse around. Like, you know, the bumblebee mushroom, the cloud mushroom. Astro Bot has his little animals that ride on his back that give him different power-ups and whatnot. There's also this one really fun detail. In the Astro Bot theme, there's this moment where, like, you hear, "I am Astro Bot." It's like Astro himself is saying these words, and it's just like, oh, that's, like, adorable. The game has amazing music that you'll see if you play Astro's Playroom. Like, there's a song, "I'm Your GPU." It's iconic. I love it. SSD is another great song. Astro Bot has a lot more, like the Astro Bot song. There's this tree level I'm not going to spoil for anybody because I want you to experience it, but if you've played Super Mario Wonder, it's very similar to a specific type of level in Super Mario Wonder, so just be prepared for that. So be prepared for the time of your life, that's all I gotta say. The one thing that I'm like 1.0001% cynical about, but at the same time, I have to like... So, for example, to go back to something I said I wouldn't do, which is talk about Mario. Mario, like, part of a Mario game is the idea that, like, oh man, I can't wait to see a Goomba, I can't wait to see a Koopa Troopa, I can't wait to defeat Bowser, I can't wait to do all these things that I've done before, but in this new sandbox context. Like, the one thing that I'm a little bit cynical about, like the smallest amount, and it's barely even worth mentioning, is just the idea that Astro Bot as a game, Astro Bot is kind of a nothing character when you just look at him, but they're using him as a reflection to reflect all of these other franchises that are iconic. Not as iconic as Mario, but like Kratos is iconic to PlayStation. Same with Nathan Drake. Same with Joel. So all that is to say is that, like, Astro Bot is borrowing iconicness from other characters, but in borrowing that, it's kind of created this interesting soupy mix that makes Astro Bot iconic in its own way, thanks to all the things it's reflecting. And I think that's super interesting. I really like that. And I'm interested to see where they go with this, because I would legitimately play a game that just is Astro Bot going through other people's video games. Like, I want to see what a Astro Bot Bloodborne level looks like. I want to see what an Astro Bot Ghost of Tsushima level looks like. I want to see what Astro Bot Persona 5 would be so cool. So, if you're cynical at the idea that, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is just corporate IP blandness, blah blah blah, whatever, like, I think that the joy of Astro Bot and how it controls and how it feels to play, like, as a game, outside of the corporate brand recognition part of your brain, I think there's still something to get out of Astro Bot. I think that, like, Astro Bot, because there's always two sides to the video game industry, because it's a business, but it's also a business fueled by some of the most creative people in the world. The creative people wanted to make this game. I truly believe that. I don't think that Sony went to a Sobi team and said, I need you to make an IP game that has 100 of our IP characters. I think that they legitimately wanted to do all the things that they did in this game. So from that perspective, I think that it's a really cool way of honoring them, because I didn't know who a fair amount of these people were, these characters are. I don't know every single PlayStation game. I know the main ones. I know Sly Cooper, I know Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Joel and Ellie, Uncharted, unfortunately Horizon, Bloodborne, like all this stuff. I know about Infamous, I know about, all of these little things that you can see, but I don't know everything. So I just think that, like, this game is worth playing on basically every level. From no matter if you're, like, the most hardcore PlayStation fan to if Xbox rules and PlayStation rules. So, like, the one cool thing about Astro's Playroom that carries over into Astro Bot is the idea of this gacha machine. So, like, there's like a little crank that you crank down. You crank that Soldier Boy, like Shinji does.
Shinji, crank that Soldier Boy!
Okay, Asuka. So you crank it down, and then you, like, open up the little, like, ball, and the little ball has, like, a memento of the character. So, like, you're collecting two things to make the character whole. So for Bloodborne, for Yarnamite, you collect the character, and then through the gacha machine, you collect the saw cleaver and the gun. And then the fun part is that every single character has this little animation that they do, and you activate that animation by hitting them. So for the Bloodborne character, with his saw cleaver and his gun, if you hit him, he will stagger you to get ready for a visceral attack. He doesn't do the visceral attack, but he does stagger you with his gun. If you want to see Joel floss, you can see that in Astro Bot, because, like, Astro Bots do, like, a couple little dances, and the animation I got for Joel was him flossing. So the only complaint I have about Astro Bot is that without all of the extra PlayStation IP essence around or involved in Astro Bot, Astro Bot's art style isn't my favorite. For example, there's, like, one little thing about Astro Bot's art style, and that's that everything is techie, but it makes everything feel artificial. So, like, there's, like, apples in a level. The apples have these little electronic lines on them. The trees are all electronic. The leaves are all electronic. It makes it feel more artificial than it needs to be. My closing thoughts is that I think this is a wonderful game. I think that it, with, like, being only, like, less than 10 hours long, is absolutely amazing. And I really, really hope that this is successful for the Asobi team, because deserve to make whatever they want. They finally got what they deserve, which is more than a pack-in title. They got a full center stage shot, and they knocked it out of the park. And they deserve all that and more next time around. So whatever they make, I'm going to be there day one. I am a huge fan. I've been a fan since Astro's Playroom, but now I am even more so a fan. Because it's just an old-fashioned video game. Like, you play it and it feels great to play. In this one specific level, there is a lot of female characters, and the way that you gain or you save or rescue an Astro Bot is by hitting them. So part of my brain that's like, is it weird that I'm hitting? Like, I'm hitting a woman right now. Like, that's... Sorry, guys. I didn't collect any of the female Astro Bots. I'd never hit a woman. Like...